to another edition of Potluck, your anything and everything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today, we have an amazing guest joining us who is changing lives to the better. She's the author of a book called
PhysioTraining Secrets.
In fact, she is the founder of PhysioTraining, and we're going to find out a whole lot more about what that exactly is. So please welcome to the show, Cristiane Barbosa Timoteo. Well, welcome to the show, Cristiane. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm very, very well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about PhysioTraining Club. You have a website online, and approximately 15 years ago, you patented what maybe some people look at restorative therapy or movement therapy. It's physiotherapy.
Yes, we'll get to the explanation, but that's definitely a good way to get started with it. Yes.
Yes. And I have a personal experience with it only because, I was in a car accident back in 2004. And I used to be pretty athletic and would work out on a regular basis. But after physical therapy and after surgery and chiropractic care, I would still try to work out, but I would re-injure myself over and over and over and over and over again. And this went on for years where I just kind of gave up. And I did some physiotherapy training or movement therapy with somebody else, and it was magic. It's magic. And I know that this is you've been doing this for 15 years, but this is something that, everybody needs to know about. Definitely a game changer. I mean, I went from, one of the main things that I went to him about was my knees, and my left knee, which had been swollen for over a year. I was told that I needed injections and possibly knee replacement.
Oh no, too young.
Way too young. Yeah, I'm like, no way. So after working with for 3 months, and granted, my knee was swollen. I mean, like the back of my knee,
a balloon.
Right. It was a balloon, more so on and off. But I mean, it was always swollen for over a year. And after doing the physiotherapy, 3 months later, I'm doing knee bends, squats. No problem.
No problem. You're actually a perfect candidate to why I created PhysioTraining. I don't know if I should embark on that story already, but it basically stemmed from this, being that I'm a licensed therapist with the state of Florida, physical therapy for the last 20 years. While as a new grad working, I've always been active. I've always done martial arts and jiu-jitsu and capoeira. I'm from Brazil originally, and I came here when I was a teenager. And one thing that really struck me when I first got here, I was even in school, was the fact that so many people can attend the gym, attend fitness centers unattended. They'll go in, they don't really know what they're doing. There isn't anybody around to teach them unless you're ready to pay $150, $80, whatever it is, wherever you were saying, for personal trainers. Yep. Now, I want to leave it very clear. I honestly don't have a problem with personal trainers. I was one before I was a therapist, but what I do have a problem is the lack of regulation. The fact that us as therapists, we become so regulated by all the states, by the boards of practice, and you can't do this and you can't do that, really up here. And then you get to personal training and it's down here in the sense of, anybody can take a course online, maybe 2-day course, you don't have any type of regulatory agency. And unfortunately, in other words, it could be anything, right? People can learn whatever. It's not that scientific based. And I started noticing those two problems. One, either people going to the gym, not knowing what to do, or hiring people who aren't qualified to help them. Right. Particularly in a situation like yours, somebody with an injury. Okay, great. If you're off the street, you've never had an injury, great, maybe you can handle it. But if you've had an injury, whether it's on your back, whether it's on your knee, as a therapist, I can promise you, if you don't take care of certain things, you're going to go back to therapy, if not to surgery. Yep. And so that is what stemmed the whole thing, whether it wasn't financial, it was just like, okay, I'm in this world for a reason. And my reason is that people have to learn. Every single person, not just my patients, not just every single person should learn. I shouldn't do this if I have knee pain. I shouldn't do that if I have back pain. Right. Or I should do that if I have back pain, right?
Right.
So all of these details that nobody knows. And unfortunately, the majority of people are seeking professionals who aren't qualified to tell others what to do either. So with that gap, right, that huge gap between these two fields, I sat there as a new grad and I said, no, something has to change. Yeah. So I started looking for creations and ways to do that. As I was a new mom at that time, I was really, I had gained weight, all of that. And I had some injuries on my shoulders. So as I started working out myself and started to see results in an exponential way, I started to realize I'm using the own techniques that I use for people who have been injured, neuro techniques, orthopedic techniques, things that I learned in the skill training as a therapist, a skilled, education.
Right.
And I started using those things for my own benefit. And I started to say, wow, I'm using a physio with the training, Then a friend of mine and I together were like, PhysioTraining, that's an amazing name. Like it really was the way it was created.
Wow.
Fast forward, 10 years, once I had already, so I searched, I trademarked, I started creating a book, right? Something to speak to I know a lot of people don't read books anymore, but I had to find a way. I have to find a way to get across to the population, not necessarily to the personal trainers only, not necessarily to the physical therapists only, but to the people. And that's when I sent the manuscript. So I wrote this about 10 years ago, kept updating it, of course, because, with science and everything is very scientific based. Like I have lots of scientific resources in the back. And then finally, I sent it to a publisher who saw the importance of it and said, I've never seen a book that has everything what you're saying. So an example, if you have knee pain, you would go to chapter 6, right? And you would look at what it entitles for you to know as an average person, let's say somebody who's not in a medical field. What is important for you to know about the knee? Then I go over the anatomy of it. Then I go over, the exercises of it. Then I go, so I give you a little bit of each because I figured you need to know. If I say to you, hey, you need to bake a cake. Okay, great. Here's the ingredients. Okay, how are you going to put it together, right?
Right.
Oh, do I just throw this? What do I do? Well, this is what the book does. It takes those things that are not physical therapy. They're just that transitional exercises that will help you have longevity on your recovery that I added to protocols. And so lots of people use it because I'm only one person, even though, I have certified trainers and everything. But now I can say, hey, Laura, guess what? Go to chapter 6, page blah, blah, and follow these exercises, add it to your routine. Excuse me, I'm not asking you to stop running. I'm not asking you to stop doing what you like. I'm just saying, please add these routines, which are preventive exercises, things that I would do that you would be paying me, getting your insurance to cover. Right. And those things will keep you at bay so that you don't need to go back later on. Or, you can maintain. I have fighters, who have used, a lot of athletes use it because they don't have time to go back and keep going back to rehab and stuff. So they'll have people who've used it for 10 years. They'll come to me and say, Cristiane, remember those exercises you taught me 10 years ago? I still use them when my knee hurts and I'm good to go. So that was validation, and so that's kind of like in a nutshell.
Wow. So the book is for everybody.
That is correct.
Literally for like everybody.
Everybody. I changed the voice of it. Initially, the book was very high level to like trainers and try to certify them, which we do use it, but we use other resources for the certification. But I did change the voice of it for, completing my batch. I've been a therapist forever, but I went back to get a bachelor's in healthcare management. And one of the things, I'm about a semester away from finishing it. And one of the things that blows my mind 20 years later is how much, it doesn't matter your level of education, how much people are health illiterate in this country. And in the world, really. But, I'm in America. I'm going to talk about America.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things on your website is that you try to help people become more healthcare literate.
Yes, that's really all I want. And then of course I'm gonna get heat from other sides, right? I'm gonna get heat from the personal trainers. Oh, you're taking our clients. No, I'm not. I'm teaching you to actually keep them for a while longer. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have heat from the therapist. Oh, you're taking away our jobs. No, I'm not. Because if you're a therapist, as an oath, you should want your patients not to come back for the same reason. They could come back to you for a different reason, God forbid, but if they're coming back for the same reason, then I'm sorry, you're not doing a great job.
Right. And they can benefit from the book, but you also have online courses for physical therapists,
that is correct,
trainers, and probably even chiropractors, because they also do physical therapy, correct?
Yes. So little by little, we're all in the rehab field. And so what I did is I have this amazing product. I'm just a person. I don't have a huge industry behind me, like, giving me the support for marketing or any of that. So I'm just trying to fight against the giants where so much has gone into the validation of the product of PhysioTraining as a product. So much so that Florida Board of Physical Therapy approved it for continuing education.
Oh, wow.
Florida Occupational Board of Practice also approved it. And then I have 3 other states that have joined: North Carolina, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Okay. So the minute that now it's what started it, it's showing, it's getting credibility because of all these boards of practice saying, you know what, you have a point here. Right. People should know the in between. Remember that what I was talking about? People should know that. And so that's how I started as a course. Now, of course, I really, really, Laura, would like personal trainers to take the course because it was initially created for them, for them to know, to step it up a little bit, right? Step it up to the PhysioTraining level. And so that's where I'm at right now. So I have the book for the public and my site and videos for anyone who use and educate themselves. And then I have the course that's a little bit, I have 2 amazing therapists, Veronica and Dr. Figueroa, who have helped me as well create the course. So the content is really educational and there's a lot of resources. And so that's where I'm at. I have the course, and I have it,
So are there set times for people to take the courses, or is it like they learn as they can do it anytime they want and go online and it's already
yes.
There?
So initially we had the course, which was a big part of it was live, because I'm very picky with precision, exercise precision. How do you do it? The one change on your spine, the movement can change a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, so live was much better, but then comes the pandemic and we can't do much live. So what we did is we created the course. It is online. However, different than many courses out there, you cannot finish it in one day. Honestly, it's not possible. So it takes people 3-4 weeks to finish it if they take their time. I also have discussion boards. I have the ability for anyone to reach out to us as instructors to go. And again, we're licensed therapists to back it up even more. Yeah. So they can have one-on-one, they can have one-to-one kind of work if they want to, if they're not sure what they're learning. And then locally, I have a couple of sites that even if somebody gets the certification, but they don't feel comfortable, they haven't had the experience, they can go shadow a physio trainer for a few hours a day or whatever, for whatever amount of time for them to feel comfortable, And it's much like a personal training certification. It just is a higher level.
Right. I imagine so if I got the book, I probably would want to work with somebody else just to make sure that I'm doing the exercises right. Like when I did the physiotherapy, I did it one-on-one online.
Yep. I also realized for sure. And I realize a lot of people like that company, they prefer that, and which continues to open up a lot of business, opportunities for people who want to take the course. I have physio trainers who've been physio trainers for 8 years. They've had their own businesses. They're doing great. Like, I happen to be a professor in a college for physical therapy. So this is my baby, and it goes parallel with what I do. But even the college picked it up as a continuing education course because they saw the importance of it.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, for sure. And the way that I have the book, Laura, is like this. So say that you do hire a personal trainer and you go work on your shoulder or on your knee, let's say, and he starts doing things that are here, you're like, Or if it tells you, don't do this, if you have this knee pain, and he gets you or she gets you to do it, you need to, and this is what the book is all about, is needing to step it up for your own health and say, thank you, but I'm not going to do it. I know better.
Right.
And that's what a lot of the problems are happening right now. Patients need to take over their own healthcare. And we can go on and on. We can talk about medications being double, tripled prescribed to people, and they're not checking their own. So how, this is nuts.
Yeah. For people who are injured or in accidents, there's still a lot of doctors who are prescribing opioids. And I know in 2015, the American Medical Association called out to all the doctors and said, if there's been an injury where they can be treated by a physical therapist or a chiropractor, let them take care of it, because that won't involve medication. And
absolutely. And there's a whole movement in the physical therapy field. It's called #ChoosePT. And the reason is for that reason. Okay, people are dying with opioids, and they're temporary. They mask the injury, so then oftentimes they'll do more than they were supposed to do. Pain is a good thing. Okay, inflammation is a good thing. I don't mean chronic forever. Yes, it's your body saying, you know what, this isn't right. But we over the years have learned to sort of ignore these signs from our bodies, and and it keeps going on. So I say we need to, as together, create a better health literate society, so that it doesn't matter. You can hire people, you can work with people for the motivation aspect of it, all of it, but you are in charge of your own body. You are in charge of what is done to you. And I think that was the very beginning of it,
Right. It definitely makes sense to educate yourself. I have a brother who passed away in 2006, and for years he did his own research on what was going on with him. He had a rare lung disease, and his doctors knew very little about what was going on. So, since then, it makes more sense to try to understand your vehicle that you're driving, your body,
Yes.
So
absolutely. And that took me 2 years. I think that's one of the biggest reasons you would see this book is not even that big. And how did it take you 2 years to write? It's because I wanted to give people the right information. Again, I'm not trying to trample on anyone, on any profession. I'm just saying we all need to work together. And if it takes me, like, now what I feel about the book is if I die, at least that much that I was able to learn hundreds or teach hundreds or maybe thousands of people over my 20 years, it's here. Something can be done. Because I know I help people. There's plenty of testimonials. A lawyer who was going to go for his honeymoon and couldn't, when I met him, and he says, you're different than your everyday therapist. He says, the first time I trained with you, I left with an immediate difference. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to share this. I can't keep this in, with myself. So from my experience, I'm back to the point where I can go out and go running. I was told not to run on hard surfaces, but I'm back in that mode. Like for years, my back was bad. What I did with the physiotherapy that helped we were working on my knee, but it also was helping my back. Right. It's the whole body. That's what I that's one of the biggest things that I talk about here. So like for my opinion, physio training is the future of personal training, because it should be, we shouldn't do away with personal training, but we should definitely regulate what they're learning.
Yeah.
And, make it so that it's a standard, because us as the clinicians, we're going to have work no matter what. People are still going to get injured. People are still going to need therapy.
Yeah.
This is not going to stop. So I feel very, very, free and confident, that so much so that the boards of practice approved the course.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. But, it's not like, I think the book is for everybody. Majority of people do some type of a workout, and especially for people who are maybe past 30 or even 40, where they feel like they can't do what they did like in their 20s or in their teens. But
absolutely
true, because with physiotherapy, it changes everything back to, it could literally turn back the clock.
It really does. And when I added the training aspect of it, so, when I trademark PhysioTraining, is because if it's a skilled treatment, like if it's something where it needs to be joint mobilized, we're going to say, you know what, you need to go to a physical therapist. Or if it's spine manipulation, you may need to go to a chiropractor. We're not teaching you how to do that. We're teaching you how to do the self skills and techniques that work beautifully,
right?
But without, again, trampling on anyone, and allowing people to know where are they in this timeline of fitness and health and all of that. Like, are they really low on the timeline, so they need help? And are they going to transition? And that's where the physio training comes in. It's because we can do this, we can go, oh, you're in the physio aspect, so let's be more careful. As you're moving on to the training aspect, we can now add things that have to do with what you like, marathons or fighting, or, the sky's the limit. But it should be where the professional who you have chosen to work with, if they're not a licensed professional, they should know still that line and say, wow, my client is not ready to move on. My client is ready to move on. So those types of choices, those professional choices that need to be made, I felt that, was important for me to do. Now, it's Sunday, you see me relaxed, you see my tattoos out and everything. I'm 43 years old. I'm not super old, but I'm not the youngest person. And I am a good example of, keep moving, and you don't have to feel old at 40. My husband is 47. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. He has over 7 herniations from neck to lumbar.
Wow.
To, you can name a problem this guy has with years of fighting. He fights. There's no surgery.
Yep.
Does he feel the pain? Yes, he feels the pain. Nobody's saying that this is going to cause you to not feel anything. We're trying to teach you, hey, this pain may not be enough for you to go to rehab yet. You could actually take care of that pain on your own. Right. If you switch to this way, if you modified it. And that's kind of like I wanted to say, because you said, oh, I can't run in hard surfaces. That's one thing that I teach in this book a lot, is modifications that allow you to continue to do what you like, but it doesn't injure you.
Right.
So, I may say, hey, Laura, for your issue, or, maybe you don't want to use the treadmill because it moves at its own pace. So you have to catch up with the pace. Maybe you want to walk on the even surfaces outside, or maybe you want to use a bicycle. There's so many other options that can still get you the cardio.
Right.
You want to injure your knee,
Yeah. Well, right now, after what I've done, I know what I can do to, if my knee does swell up, which like a few weeks ago, actually it did, just doing some simple exercises.
Right.
Slowing down, and I got better.
Right. And that saved you a co-payment, right? That saved you a trip to the physician to get an MRI. And, love my physicians. I'm in the medical field. I guess what I was trying to say is that modifications are important. As we grow older, there are certain things we did as young adults that we may not be able to do, but it doesn't, keep me from continuing. I do jiu-jitsu myself. I'm a brown belt. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma. I can go on and on saying those things. And I'm not anymore special than anyone out there. So
Right.
why can I do it? It's because I have years of training and I've adapted this concept and I spread it through the people around me, and everybody's very happy with it. And I think as a wrap up, I want to thank you for having the opportunity to share this with me.
Thank you for joining us. And I think that this book benefits, like I said, it benefits everybody. It benefits athletes, benefits doctors, chiropractors,
Yes.
physical therapists, personal trainers, anybody who moves. Anybody,
Yes.
not just
Yes.
anybody who moves. You know,
Really?
this can help the elderly. So this book is literally for everybody.
Yep. And if it helps you, stay safe in this pandemic time, I explain very much so. So as an example, if for Denise, since we're talking about you, just before you go, I will say, hey, do this and this, and if it doesn't improve by this much percent, then you may need to go see a therapist. Like I try to keep this very, very specific, like guys, don't ignore your pain, but don't go crazy running to the emergency room. Like find a happy medium,
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. People can go to your website, which is PhysioTraining.club.
Yes, it's a little unusual, but I feel like once you join the movement, it's a club. We're all together in this. So it's PhysioTraining.club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yep. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to see you online, to meet you. If you're just tuning in now, or you'd like to catch some more episodes of Potluck, make sure you go to www.potluck-online.org. And we look forward to seeing you next time.